The Middle East is in turmoil. You've got Ukraine. The whole world is watching that. Depending on what we do there is going to greatly influence the Chinese as they're looking at Taiwan. We're so blessed. We've got Canada and Mexico as our neighbors. We fight a little bit. It's like family. You squabble, but you're friends. You like each other. So many other countries, they're neighbors. They're looking at each other with eyes of, how do we conquer these people? Mm-hmm. And we just don't experience that here. But sadly, much of the world is like that. So I think we've got several places that we have to look at. And, the thing to do is to be ready, to have a good economy, which drives all this. And then again, as Reagan said, and so many others, peace through strength.
We've gone through definitely probably the longest political cycle, election cycle in at least modern history. People will often say now that it was one of the most divisive, but we've also talked on this show about, you can go back to the 1800s, Aaron Burr shot somebody. So there's always been this conflict that ramps up as we go into a charged election, especially when you have so many issues that are so polarizing. We're out of it now. President Trump won in a decisive manner across the country. I think even last night they called the Arizona, and so the election, as far as ballot counts at the presidential level, is now over. But now the country's got to come together. We have to forge a path. What do you see as the priority now for the Senate? Now comes back to the Republican Party. We're still waiting on the House, but it looks like that will too. As the Republicans now have all branches of the government, what are you looking forward to, and what's going to be on that agenda?
Well, it's interesting you mentioned the thing about, that there's always been turmoil, and that is the case. I was in the House for 9 years. You can go there. There's a picture of George Washington. And, around some time in the early part of our country, they actually outlawed weapons on the House floor. And if you look at his picture, they've even painted out his sword. You can see
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can see the top, the handle, but they actually painted out his sword. So even he's not carrying a weapon on the House floor. So these things have a long history. I do think our country's divided, though, and we need to bring it together. And so we'll go back. We'll have elections, on our side, get kind of reconstituted, and get our committees in line, and then just roll our sleeves up and get to work. In the Senate, the reality is, in order to get something passed, it has to be somewhat bipartisan. You need 60 votes to get it done. That's not bad in the sense it really does force you to work together to create a product. So we're looking forward to doing that. I think we can do that. I'll give you some great examples. In the last several years, we've done more for veterans working together, Democrats and Republicans, than we have, in decades. The PACT Act, various things like that, the community care programs, all of that was done in a very, very bipartisan way. So hopefully we can follow through, not only with our veterans, but with our armed forces and so many other things, the economy. Americans just don't have any money right now. They're in a situation where they look back and they are in a lot worse situation than they were 4 years ago. And the problem is they really don't see a lot of hope going forward. So, we've said that we can jump in, roll our sleeves up, working together to make a change in that area and so many other areas. Now it's time that we've got to actually perform.
Yeah. I think it's an exciting time for America.
Exactly.
I think that there's, we talk about the future, we talk about change, and I think regardless of what candidate won, there was going to be somewhat of a change.
Yeah.
Something was going to change, right? It didn't be exactly the same. But I think now it comes down to how do we rally behind? How do we rally behind? In the military, we talk all the time about orders, say, quote unquote orders. And in special forces, the beauty of the special forces team is that you have these 12 individuals on the operational detachment, and everybody gets a voice. But when the decision is made, everybody gets in line, and then they execute on that decision. And I'm hoping as we move forward now into this new era, that's what America's going to do.
Yeah. I believe with you wholeheartedly. Like I say, I grew up in a military family. My dad was a master sergeant. I also played football at Arkansas. It was the mentality. You work hard in the off season. You're vying for position. During the off season, you look at each other and you almost kill the guy that's the step above you. At the end of that, when they put the final depth chart, then you come together as a team and work hard together. And the other realization is that the harder you work to help your teammate, the better off you are, because you're all going to be successful. And so those are kind of simple truths that we just need to continue to talk about and distill. And people like you are a great example of that.